Hello, my name is Mark Chinsky and I'm with Clients First Business Solutions. We're going to go through a series of demonstrations of the Epicor 9 ERP solution. This first demonstration is going to cover an overview of the solution, including the overall technology, approach, look and feel, navigation, analysis, and so forth. What we're looking at initially here after logging in is our launcher, and this is where we typically will launch off the various screens and functions within the program. On the left you'll see multiple companies listed: Epicor Corporation, Europe, Mexico, USA. If I click on the plus sign next to one of the companies, we can see the plants, or depending on your terminology, divisions or units. So for example, if we go to Epicor USA and then Chicago, then within Chicago you'll see the functional areas such as sales management, material management, financials. And if you click on financials, you'll see AP, accounts payable, accounts receivable, and then within those sections you'll see system setup, operations, and reports. If you click on these, you'll see within them then you actually have the setup functions that are involved, or in this case general operations for accounts receivable. You'll also see different icon representing data entry screens, actions, as well as trackers. Trackers are typically read-only versions of screens that allow you to drill down and around to all related areas of the system. We'll cover them in more detail. You'll see that the screen on the left navigates just like Microsoft Outlook or any other typical Microsoft application. These multiple companies are unique in that they can all sit in the same database. So you can have one database containing multiple companies in multiple countries in multiple currencies, dealing with local country requirements and intercompany transactions between them. Those transactions can be as simple as an accounts payable invoice entered in one company with expenses distributed to others with automatic due to and due from entries, or we can have a sales order in one company be automatically generated from a purchase order in another, and then the invoice of that company become an accounts payable voucher in the requesting company, all automatically. All of these companies can reside in one database, and they can all reside on one server, or they could be in multiple servers located throughout the world and automatically real-time synchronize among the servers. So this gives the system the ability to be deployed and scaled very fluidly in one simple method. It also means if you need to upgrade the system, you can upgrade just one database instead of having to deal with multiple databases and multiple upgrades to new versions. You'll see across the top typical Windows menus, the View menu, an Options menu, and so forth, as well as a fully functional Help menu, which we'll get into in a little while. And we also have a toolbar here for commonly used functions such as changing companies, your preferences, etc. And you'll notice on the bottom of the screen it'll always show you which company you're in, what language you're in, and who you're logged in as, and you can always click on any of these to change those settings as well. The history pull down here shows you the various screens that you've been in recently, and you can jump to any of them automatically. We also have our embedded education function right here, which is our built-in courseware we'll talk about. Now once you go into one of these functions, as I mentioned, you can see all the various capabilities that you have. Now I'm logged in as a super user, and because of that I have the ability to access and see everything. If I was a lower level user, maybe just somebody in accounts receivable, I would only see the menus and functions exposed to me. I can cut that down even further through the concept of a favorites menu here. On favorites, just like Outlook, you can click on your favorites section here and see what you want. So for example, I have favorites regarding financial management. These are my commonly used functions. I have a favorite here regarding general favorites. And you'll see I can also link items that are outside of Epicor, such as Microsoft Word or any other application or executable. It's very easy to add something to the favorites. If you see it in your menu items, say contact tracker or a part tracker here, you can just right click, add to favorites bar, and it's over and available. You can rename it. Instead of part tracker, I want to say item review or something of that nature, or you can simply delete it if you don't want it on your bar here. So that gives you a little bit of idea of how you can streamline your operations. You can see that this look and feel, however, and functionality is carried throughout the system. So let's go ahead and look at an actual data entry screen, for example. We'll go ahead into, say, order, or into sales management, and then into order management. and we'll open up order entry. And now we're in our order entry screen. Now you'll notice, unlike some other systems you might see, the launcher is using a current modern technology, the Microsoft .NET architecture, and so do all the embedded screens. It is not an older set of screens bolted onto a newer launcher. And this is important because everything that we show you in terms of functionality in our embedded screens work identically on our launcher and any other embedded screens. So it's very common workflows, capabilities, and that means that once you really understand how to use one screen, you're very familiar with how to use the overall system. Very, very consistent. So if you look across the top, you have your typical menus. Again, just about everything you see here can be customized. Every field can be hidden, can be moved, can be made read-only, can all be done for a specific user, a specific group. All of those changes are automatically made on top of the source code, so it's not in any way a modification of the program. They can be instantly rolled back. Very, very flexible to streamline and simplify the system. For example, this is our order entry screen. We'll minimize this for the moment. We have a simplified version of that order entry screen as well. Now this version, somebody's used the personalization tools and has made the screen in such a way that all of the functions are on just one single screen. And on top, they've switched the user interface to the Microsoft Office 2010 ribbon bar style instead of the regular bar, just to show you how the system can be modified in a way to streamline to your workflows and not to the workflow that an Epicor programmer might have thought you wanted. Now we also have embedded help capabilities. So if we go in our help, we can say, for example, application help. Now right now we're on the summary tab of sales order, and because of that the help jumps to all of the information about the summary tab. If I were on, say, the releases tab, and then I go to application help, you'll see that now this opens up help about releases. We also have a concept called field help. If we turn this on, as we click on various fields on the screen and then highlight over the field help tab, it gives us the details on that field. Notice when I come off, by default it hides itself out of the way to make room, but if I wanted that to be available always, I can pin this up, and now the help field is always available. So as I click on different fields, you see different information being shown here that relates to the field that I'm on. In addition, you see this technical details section here, and this is very helpful if you're going to write your own business activity queries or reports, because you don't always know where data may live in the underlying database. So if you know what piece of information you want, maybe the order date from the header, just by clicking on it, I know that this is in the order header table and the name of the field is order date. Now in this case, you'll see in general our fields are very intuitive, but still there are times where you may not always know which field you want to deal with, and this now allows you to see that just by clicking on the field and seeing those technical details. If we want to get this out of our way, we can bring this back up and say close. We also have in our help a complete, or I should say in general, a complete embedded education courseware. So if I click on our education courseware, it's broken down by the same menus and again with the same user interface and look. And let's say we wanted help or a course on financial management on accounts payable. This gives us an overview, we'll just maximize this, of the accounts payable courseware, and if we launch the courseware, we now have the entire course here before you begin, what your prerequisites are, and then setting up the application, setting up your maintenance programs. For example, if I want to set up payment methods, click on it and it gives us all the details on how to set up payment methods. It also has links to the actual screen, so if I click on, for example, this link, it opens up the related screen in the application, making it very easy to work with. And by default, these can be made to open up into a test company so that you can learn on the system with sample data that doesn't affect your live production environment. So all this courseware is embedded, including all of the advanced functions available within the system. So let's go back to sales order entry and look at our lookup engine here. Typically, whenever you got to look a field up like sales order, you click it, and by default this is the basic search that's available, but these can all be completely customized as to which fields you want to sort and search on. You can use name searches that are preset, you can use a quick search function here, an advanced query for some reason if you needed it, etc. We're just going to do a basic search and return our results. We'll make this a little bigger, and right now it's just showing from newest order to oldest. If I click again, you'll notice the arrow points up. Now we're looking at the lowest order number to the highest, and you can sort on any field. Now what I'm showing you here works everywhere in the system you see a grid. So once you figure out how to use this here, the same functionality is inherited anywhere else there are grids in the system. This is like a grid, and it works like an Excel spreadsheet. For example, you can make the columns wider. You can double click the column so it becomes wide enough for the longest element. You can even drag and drop the grids around in order to reorder what columns are showing in what order. You can also right click and you can do what's called a group by, and right click again and do a summaries by. So for example, if I wanted to summarize on a count of sales orders, okay, and I wanted to group by the customer ID and drag it up, I now see one row per customer ID with a count of how many documents or orders are in there. If you click the plus sign, you can see the details. Now maybe I want to subgroup by date. So now I see one row for Addison, and if I click on it, I see one row per unique date. In this case, for this date, there are actually 2 orders. Again, anywhere you see a grid, you can right click and you can say copy to Excel, and you'll see that grid brought out into Excel. And if the grid was grouped, the Excel spreadsheet would also be showing those same groupings. If the grid wasn't grouped, so we'll go ahead and remove the groups here, and then we export to Excel, you'll see it's brought over in exactly the same format you saw there, and you have all the capabilities of Excel. You can even do more filtering right within the grid here. So if we right click and say show grid filters, similar to Excel, maybe I only want to show the orders on hold. So if I say on hold true, we're now filtered our list to just the on the held orders, beyond whatever search criteria might have been here. So we'll just go back and bring up our regular search. Let's say we want to work on a couple of orders, this, and this. Just discontiguously select them and say OK. Now it'll bring us to our most recent order, but our order browser will allow us to pick any of those that we were working with as a set to work on. This could be all invoices that are over a certain due date, or all orders that haven't shipped yet, or what have you. Some of the other nice capabilities here is we can send a link to this order by email to any other Epicor user, or we can send a link to this entire list to any Epicor user. So we'll just send it to ourselves for demonstration purposes and say send. We'll close this up. And now if I go out to our Outlook and force it to update and do a send receive, you'll notice we've just received an email with the shortcut. If we open it up, this will actually open up Epicor on our desktop, and it's going to go ahead and open up sales order entry and preload that list of sales orders in for somebody to work on. So it's a way that a user has the ability to go out and send a series of documents for somebody else to work on. So you'll notice now this newly opened screen has that same list of orders that I went ahead and sent. Let's talk a little bit more about the interface that we see here. Let's go ahead and open up a particular order. So we'll clear this. We'll open up order 5016. Now, you'll see on the left, the system is going to go ahead and show us what's called a tree view. This tree view shows us that we're in order 5016. It has 3 attachments. It has 2 lines. You see the first line and second line here on the order. Now, this second line actually contains more information than you see here, and that's what's called a release. So we have 30 of these items on order, but this is actually being requested in 3 segments from our customer. So if I click on release 1, they want 10 by December 1st, and then they want another 10 by December 15th, and they want a final 10 on December 30th. So you can have orders with lines, and each line can have their own series of releases, and each release can have a different date, can even have a different destination shipped to, or different customer, can have a separate manufacturing job associated with it if it's a manufactured item, and can even be bought from a supplier directly for that release. So it's a very flexible system for allowing a lot of customer flexibility in terms of the way your customers want to buy from you. We can do some other things as well. So for example, right now in the summary we can pretty much enter our whole order here, but you can also see more detail. So if we click on header, you now see all the information about the header. And this is how Epicor provides a very deep level of functionality, but yet can keep it usually hidden from most users unless they occasionally need to use some of the less used fields, such as currency or specific packing lists, or whether this order needs to be shipped complete or not, or what have you. If you click on lines, instead of seeing the grid, you can now see all of the important fields that we can store by a line, including associating a line with an opportunity in CRM, with a sales campaign. The line can have specific pricing information, required by date information, and so forth. Now we can look at the line in a detail or a list. But again, using that modern .NET architecture, we're able to also customize this interface. So if we go ahead and take the Detail tab here, we can go ahead and rip it and attach it over here. Now what this allows us to do is you can now see your line details on the right, and as you highlight the row on the left here, the details will update. Now in this case we're still being cut off, so maybe instead of a vertical orientation we want to take it and snap it to the bottom here. Now this makes more sense. Now we can see the lines up here and the details down here, and again we can resize these. So as you can see, these interfaces can be really customized to the way that you want to work, and we can actually permanently save this. For me as a user, I can undo any changes I made, or I can reset it to the factory standard. If I close the screen and then I were to reopen sales order entry, then it's going to go ahead and reset itself to the original form. Some of the other functions on the toolbar of the document here, for example, this is our changelog. This changelog capability allows us to see when data has changed in the given document. So that, for example, on March 10th, the order header was changed, and the details are the date was changed from 11/4 to 3/10. On this date, the amounts were changed, credit card totals were changed. You as the end user can customize which fields you want to monitor for changes, and when these changes occur, they can go into this changelog, or optionally they can actually email you, or only email you if it exceeds a certain criteria, such as an AP invoice being entered for over $10,000. Then I want to see that. Or if somebody changes the salesperson number on an order after the fact, I want to be notified of that, and what have you. So it's a very flexible way to keep track of who changed what and be able to know, and people be held accountable for those changes. You can also attach memos if you want to the document. They can have description and categories and so forth. And you can also attach phone call logs, which integrate again with the CRM system. So in this case, if we've had phone conversations about this order, you can see who it was, what it related to. In this case, it relates to this order, and what have you. So you can see the whole history of dialogue and conversations regarding this document. And again, all this functionality is seen throughout. And you can also attach documents. You can use the attachment button here, or see the attachments on the left. So for example, this could be a URL to a picture that relates to this particular document. This case is just a picture of a tank somewhere, or it could be a PDF document or a CAD drawing of it, and what have you. So documents can be attached, and they can be embedded into a SharePoint site or right into the application in the database, and be available for all users. So when you're going to typically look for something on the internet, you're not going to go into a database program and search for a company. You're going to just go to Google or Bing or Yahoo and search Freeform. Well, Epicor has taken that concept and brought it to the ERP industry. So in this search box up here, if I go ahead and type the word engineering and click go or hit enter, what I'm going to get back here is a result of all the places in the system where the word engineering appears. If I change my search and I say engineering, but I don't want Barriston because I wasn't thinking of a customer, I can type Barriston with a dash in front of it, and just like Google, that tells the search engine, which we call Enterprise Search, to find where the word engineering appears anywhere except where it does not appear with the word Barriston, and you'll notice it highlights it in bold where that appears. We can even use what's called wildcards, so I can type ring ***, And because of that, that means find anywhere where the word or the letters R-I-N-G appear, even if they have letters in front of it or after it. So we may have any example of that throughout, such as Dalton Engineering or what have you. Now you see on the right we have what's called our tag cloud. This shows you all the kinds of entities the system has found data in ship-tos and quotes and invoices. And you notice they're in different sizes. The larger the font, the more records it returned with that, so it's the more relevant. If I were to just click on orders, now this list is filtered to only orders with the word ring, such as manufacturer ring, in that result. You also see we have an alternative traditional view, which we call our grid view, which brings back those same results but in our grid. And because it's a grid, just as we talked about before, you have that same group by capability. So I could group by customer name and see that all of these orders really relate to Barriston Engineering and Dalton because they have the word ring in their name. And then you see the details here. Now, let's say, for example, we want to go back to our search and we want to search for Addison calls in and they give us their PO number of 42471. And we'll go back to our web view here. And we see actually it's still showing us just from orders because of the tag view. So we'll say all, and now we see anywhere where 42471 appears for Addison. And in this case, it's their PO number and it relates to this order and to this invoice. Now, if we want to look at the details on this order, we can right-click here and say go to our sales order tracker. And you'll see our right-click works throughout the system for navigating the related areas. Now, what the system's going to do is open up the sales order tracker for 5016. Now, what a tracker is in Epicor is a read-only view of the data shown in a way that makes it easy to understand the whole picture around the particular document. In this case, the sales order. You have the header, just like before. You can see the lines, you can see the releases, etc. And you can also see related information. For example, this is the invoice that resulted from this tracker, as well as any shipments that may have occurred relative to the sales order. And this shipment occurred as part of the shipping process at a later point in time. So if we go ahead and right-click on the shipment number, it relates to either shipment entry or shipper tracker. So we're going to go ahead and open up the shipper tracker, and we could have shipped multiple things on this invoice to the customer. And we can even just click on tracking details, and the system will go out to the FedEx or UPS site, and if this was an actual tracking number, give us the real-time track information for that package. And you'll notice everything we've done is all embedded within the system. Everything can be right-clicked and drilled into anything that's related to this. If I'm on the pack number, I can drill into anything relating to the pack. If I'm on a customer number, I can drill on anything relating to the customer. On an order number, I can drill on anything relating to the order, and what have you. So you have full drill down and drill around capabilities that are extremely intuitive and quick to get to. Now, in addition, we've been showing the enterprise search within what we call our FAT client. What if we were to go ahead and open up, say, Firefox? And what I'm going to show you here works for Firefox, works for Chrome, Internet Explorer, Safari. If we were in here and I go ahead and type 42471, we're going to go ahead and again get all documents in the system where that number 42471 appears, which could be multiple documents or documents by coincidence from different vendors. And again, because it's a web page, instead of right-click, it shows us our drill down options as hyperlinks. If I click on sales order entry, what the system's going to do is it's going to open up the sales order entry screen. Now, because I could have opened up this browser from anywhere in the world, I could have been at an airport kiosk, I could have been wherever, normally the system would ask you then to log in, but because I am already on a system that is logged and authenticated through Windows, it's going to automatically bring it up. So what you see here is a completely web-rendered view of the sales order screen. And in this web-rendered view, you'll see you have your same menus. You have your File, your Edit, your Tools menu, your Actions menu. You even have your full help, both field and application help. Now that it's populated it, you can see all of the order header information. You can see the lines here And again, you can click on any of the tabs to see the header. You can use the hierarchy here. Go to this item here, and now go to the various releases and click on a release, and the screen will show you the release level details. You can even see the job information here. You have the same drill down capabilities. If you see a job relating to this release, you can right click and say open with job tracker, for example, and the system will open up another browser window with the job tracker and then rendering that given job that you have there right in it. So you can see all the information about the job, the materials related to it, and so forth, but we'll get back to that later. You can actually see the entire Epicor system through our Epicor Web Access, and we call this Epicor Everywhere. And what this means is you'll be able to access the entire Epicor system through any web browser anywhere in the world. So again, you have your menus. You can go into your submenus, go into your operations, and we can go into order entry, for example. The system will now open up the order entry screen. We can open up another screen, such as a contact tracker. And you see that it creates, instead of separate windows, since we're on the web, it creates separate tabs. So if I go to order entry, I can click on my search button, and you'll see the search window is rendered very similar to the desktop client with the same capabilities. Double click on a row to bring in that particular sales order. Contact tracker, again, I can look up a contact, for example, do my searches, and see all the contacts. We'll just pick one here. So you can see, you can flip between the various screens and use the entire system, including accessing the change logs, attachments, and the like, can all be seen from within the web. We even have the ability to do this within Microsoft Office. One of Epicor's capabilities or modules is called our Information Worker, which interfaces with Microsoft Outlook, Excel, Word, PowerPoint. The most popular is Outlook, and you'll see here that, for example, if I go into our browser mode and we'll just go ahead and bring up our search, you can see the Epicor search embedded right within Outlook. So if I want to look for Addison 42471, and again, it returns those same results right within Outlook, and if you clicked on one of these screens, it would render the same browser window. Now, suppose Addison calls in and they want a list of their open orders, for example. We can do that right from within Outlook, integrated into Epicor via, again, the Epicor Information Worker. So, say Andrew called in, so we'll go ahead and send him an email and give him the documents he requested. Here are your open orders. And we just want to go ahead and say Addison orders. And now we just highlight this and hit our hotkey. And the system will automatically return us in this window all of the results that match up the word Addison orders. Now, since they only want their orders, we'll just go ahead and highlight orders here and give us the results, which will just give us our orders. We'll now do this as an advanced insert, and we tell it we want to bring a table back, all matches, and we don't want every field. Maybe we just want ship by, need by, customer, PO number, terms code, anything, and we say insert. And the system is now going to bring back a list of those results and automatically paste them back into Outlook. And now all I have to do is hit send, and what it's asking us now is if I want to log this email to Andrew Addison as an outbound communication within the system's CRM. So we'll go ahead and say yes on that as well. So now we've talked about how to navigate around the system, what the data entry screens look like. Let's talk a little bit about dashboards. Now, of course, Epicor, like many systems, has reports. You can go in any module and go into the reports menu and see the various reports that are available, and within these reports you have many options within that. But reports are only up to date the moment they're printed, and at that point they become static information. Now, our reports are generated in Crystal Reports, and they are completely customizable by us or you as the end user using the Crystal reporting tool, but really what people want is real-time exception monitoring and information, and what we call that is a dashboard. And we've got a couple of, the system includes scores of dashboards built in the executive analysis section here. So if we look at them, you can see a number of dashboards here. They're embedded throughout the related areas of the system. But I've gone ahead and customized our menu here to show us our most common ones. And this, again, customization can be done by any user for any requirement. So if I click on the first dashboard, we'll bring up what's called our job cost exceptions dashboard, and we'll refresh this. And what this shows us is our overall list of manufacturing jobs that are in process, and they're in red if they are over the budgeted or expected amount of labor or time. Now, if maybe I only want to see which jobs are over their estimated labor, I can click that tab, and which jobs are over the estimated materials, I can click that tab. So each of these tabs can be customized, and these dashboards are all user customizable through a very simple drag and drop user interface. Let's look at another one of our dashboards, and we call this our Billings, Bookings, and Backlog dashboard. And for the moment, just like any other screen, even on our launcher, we can click this pin to have that move out of our way at the moment so we can see this on our whole screen here. So now, you'll see here what we have on the left is our monthly revenue number, which shows us everything we've invoiced for the month. On the right is everything that's been ordered for the month, and down here is all of our current unshipped orders. On the right here, we have any web page that you can embed, such as Yahoo. And you can also look at your embedded Outlook information live. Double-click it, and you can see your Outlook emails right from within the console, as well as anything that's shipped out today. Now, this shows our summary feature here. So what the nice thing is we've set the system up to show us our summary of our invoiced revenues, which tells us right now, month to date, we've invoiced $158,000, which gives us that kind of number that people like to know about at any given time. We can also look at a chart of our billings and what we billed today. Again, sales order, this is our chart, this is our grid, this is what we ordered today. And again, these grids are like any other grid, so you can simply right-click on them and show your summaries and sum them up by dollars, or show your groupings if you wanted to, and group them up by customer, just like we saw before, all fully customizable. You can also tear one of these off by double-clicking it, and now it'll come out of the dashboard so that you have a bigger view of the information. And then you can double-click it again to snap it back into place. So that's a nice overview of what's going on in the company. We'll go ahead and bring our menu groups back here for ease of viewing. The next dashboard we'll take a look at is called our Quote Confidence dashboard. Now, the Quote Confidence dashboard, and we'll just run a refresh on this, shows us all of our open quotes and the confidence that the salesperson has put that we're going to close that business. Now, this particular quote, and we'll go ahead and show a graph here, this graph is showing us for all of these quotes how many are at 50%, what percent are at 60%, and what percent are at 70%. So this one's currently at 30%. Now, if I go into this field and change that 30 to 50%, as soon as I tab off of it, notice this now increased because it moved into that category. This showed us two things. One, that these various screens can be related to each other. So if I click on this quote, this shows us the lines for that quote. If I click on this quote, this shows us the lines for that quote. That's called our publish and subscribe technology, and that means that as we click on records and dashboards, we can see related information shown in real time. Now, the other thing that it showed us is that we could actually update data in a dashboard if it's configured that way. Now, if this was a journal entry that was posted, it wouldn't allow us to just change that number. But if I can change the number on the underlying data entry screen at this point in time, then I can make a dashboard that allows that same updating to be done. This could be for mass updating prices. We can go ahead and bang through our prices if you wanted. In this case, it's updating this quote. Now, if I go ahead and open up this quote and we right-click on it and say Open with Quote Entry, the system actually drills down to that specific quote, and you'll see here on our summary that confidence factor that we put in, which is 50%. If I change this now to 40% on the underlying document, save my changes, Now this can be set to automatically refresh every certain amount of time, so it can be on the CEO's desk staying current, or we can just manually refresh it, and notice this number now changed to 40%. Now that's one way to update it. Another way to do this, and we'll move over to our favorites here for a moment. We'll click on our favorites and we have what's called our mobile anywhere. Now in this case, because I'm out in the field, I have to log in. Now these menus and functions that are available are completely customizable. In this case, we just have the simple quote confidence dashboard, but it's automatically been optimized in the system to fit in the view of what you would find on a mobile device, whether it's Android, an iPhone such as this, BlackBerry, or what have you. You notice here's that same quote. Now if I highlight that row and say I want to edit that row, I now have the ability here to, let's say, make this 60%. And then if I'm happy with my change, I say save, and I'll go ahead and close my iPhone view now, and we'll go ahead and hit the refresh button here, and you notice now that order has been updated to 60%. So you can allow people in the field to update any information they want in the system with a real-time connection, whether it be through the pure browser, whether it be through a mobile browser such as an iPhone or an iPad, or right within the system. The next dashboard we're going to look at is what's called our Enterprise Performance Management. Now this is a dashboard into our EPM tool, which is available both within Epicor and from any web browser. Enterprise Performance Management, or EPM for short, as you'll see on this dashboard here, is actually a deeper version of the dashboard technology. The dashboards are embedded in Epicor. EPM is an available module as well. EPM is designed to continue where dashboards leave, and that is it can hack through millions of records of data, giving you related drill down and drill around type of analyses in very advanced ways and visualizations. And these can be presented anywhere on mobile devices, iPads, and what have you. And it's typically, if you've seen standalone business intelligence tools, it's exactly that field. The data underlying this is based on Microsoft SQL Server analysis services, and it's able to allow for this instantaneous viewing of tremendous amounts of data. This particular view, and it comes with probably over 100 stock views that are completely customizable, is showing us overall where we are on sales relative to goal. And the green is better, yellow is okay, and red is poor. Here we see our top selling products for the geography and time period indicated here, which by default is all geographies and all time. Sales by salesperson. How did we get here, which shows us our sales by month. Notice this is actually points in time and not just snapshots of current data. And then the top 5 geographies, as well as product breakdown cross-tabled over salespeople. So to give you an example, this is called a slicer up here. If we wanted to look at a time range that is something other than all time, we can click on here and now pick a particular year, for example. And then I can say I want quarter 1 and maybe quarter 3. It doesn't even have to be contiguous. So the data now refreshes instantly to show us all of the data that occurred during quarter 1 and quarter 3 of the year 2009, I believe it was. Now here, this shows us our sales by geography, actual versus plan. If I were to click on the USA bar, you'll notice now it shows us within the USA sales by top states. And all of the data that we see here is only showing us the sales in the United States, not all geographies, because when I clicked on here, it reset the geography flag here. Again, I could reset that back the way we'd want it, and now it'll go back to the original view. Over here, we see our drink sales of actual versus plan versus our food versus our non-consumables. If I were to click on food, I can now expand this, and I would see our details of food groups such as baked goods, breakfast foods, and so forth. And we'll just go over and scroll over so you can see a little more. Now within baked goods, we sold actual $22,000 worth of product. If I click the plus sign on salesperson and expand, Now you'll see that it's going to show us the food category broken out by the salesperson that bought those products. So in the drink category, these are the sales by salesperson. In the food category, these are the sales by salesperson. Within the food category indented, then these are the sales by salesperson of very specific categories. So you can see it's a very intuitive tool that allows senior executives and line managers to be able to drill down and around and understand what's going on in their business without knowing any technical information. So that's an overview of our dashboard and analysis technology, and as you can see, with these abilities you rarely have to actually use printed reports to get static information. The next area we're going to look at is business process management. That's an embedded capability of Epicor thanks to its service-oriented architecture that allows consultants and end users to create automated workflows and functions that have the system automate commonly used program designs. This means that companies can easily tailor Epicor to their exact business needs in ways that does not require any custom programming, which again most people have come to know from real-world experience is often what makes products difficult to upgrade in the future because of changes made to source code. So let's take a look at an example of what business process management can do. We're going to go ahead into order management and open up our order entry screen. Now we're going to create a new order here, and we're going to create it for Addison. And in this order, we're going to add a new line to the order. So we'll just go ahead, create a new line, and we'll add a particular item, which is our DCD 300-OR, and we'll order a quantity of 10 of this item. Now, first thing you'll notice is that the quantity automatically turned red, and that's because there's a business process rule that says if the amount ordered is below the amount available, go ahead and highlight the field in red, but allow people to continue. Now, suppose he talked to this customer and realized that this customer is going to need some kind of a discount. So he decides that he's going to offer on this order an 18% discount. And you notice as soon as I tab off the field, the discount field goes yellow because that's in the warning zone. He goes on and talks with the customer some more and feels a little doubtful about being able to get the order at this price. So he says, you know what, I need to make my quota this quarter. Let's go with 35%. What is this? An error message pops up, and you can tell just by the humorous nature of the message, this is not the way the system normally would respond, but that one of the consultants or end users put in this message that says this is a ridiculous level of discount. And you know what, I am out of my mind, so I'll go ahead and say yes. Now you'll notice the discount field goes red, and if I'm a sneaky salesperson, I'm going to think, good, it's red, and that's a nice color, and I think I'll just move on and save this. What's this? The business process rule says that if this has gone over an acceptable limit, you cannot save this order as an order ready to process. You have to give a reason for this. So the reason is I need to make quota and submit my approval request. It then comes back and confirms to me that this request has been submitted for approval. You'll notice now the order has been put on hold, and I can't remove that hold based on my security abilities. So the order is taken because the old rule always take the order from the customer, but it is not an approved order until somebody reviews it. So we'll just go ahead and minimize this for a moment, and let's go into our Outlook. So now say we're in the role of the manager. We'll go ahead and do a send receive here just to force the email. Give it a moment. And now you'll notice an email has appeared in our inbox. Order 5263 is above our 25%, meaning any orders over 25% discount need to get approved, and that's the rule. Now, there's a couple of ways we can do this. First thing we can do is actually go ahead to a portal page in which the system will show us in a SharePoint portal the actual approvaling matrix involved here. So the portal comes up and it shows us all of the orders awaiting approval. There's many other things we can do in the portal that we can discuss later, but at the moment we're in our order approval dashboard. And right from here we can see our need to make quota order that has been put in. And actually it's right here, and I could go in and actually change it right from this screen and make it a yes if I wanted to. However, there are other alternatives. We'll close this. You can also click on this link and it'll open up the original sales order with all of the details in the browser so that I could go ahead and look at this from anywhere in the world. The other option is simply reply to the email and say, it's approved, but I'm only giving you 28%. And now down in the requested discount, I'm going to change this to 28% and I'm going to send it. And now, in this case, the salesperson is going to get an email telling him his order has been approved, but that it's only been approved for 28%. Some other things are also happening behind the scenes. So once that email is sent and Epicor picks it up as part of the process, we'll go back into the sales order. Now, the next thing we're going to do is refresh the sales order so that it shows us the latest version of this information. So we go ahead and we hit refresh. Now notice two things have occurred. The discount is now 28% the way I typed it, and the order is off of hold. So I was able to reply to that workflow and address what needed to be done right from my email. That email could have been on a smartphone, or it could have been on a desktop right in the office or anywhere in the world. That's a simple example of what business process management can do. Let's take a look at another component of this architecture, and that is what we call Service Connect. So let's go ahead and note our last sales order number here. We'll go back into order entry. If we bring up our sales order list, you'll see the last sales order number in the system currently is 5263. We'll minimize that for now. Let's go into Outlook. And I'm going to go ahead and send an email as if I was a customer, and I'm going to send it to this inbound address here, and we'll say, here are my orders. Thanks. And I'm going to attach a document. And we're going to bring up a spreadsheet. And it's called Order Details. Now let's just quickly open it so that you can see what's in it. In this spreadsheet is basically an order that the customer creates based on a format or template we told them, a PO number, comments for the order, items, quantities, pricing that they think is appropriate, etc. So we'll go ahead and send this email in. So this email is now being sent from the customer to a specific email address within our company. Epicor is looking in that email address, and when it finds an email, it will detach the attachment and use the information in the attachment to update data within Epicor. So we'll just give it a moment, and we'll do our lookup here, click search, and we'll see now there's a new order here, 5264, and it has that PO number that was in that spreadsheet. If we go ahead and open that order, you'll see that here we have this new order from Dalton. All of the lines from the spreadsheet are now in the order with the quantities requested, the same highlighting and rules apply here about availability, etc., all automatically entered into the system. Also notice that by default the order is on hold because we don't just want to accept orders from our customers blindly, we want to be able to review them, and we can easily create lookup lists. The other thing that can be done is that an email can be sent to a sales administrator whenever orders come in from clients so that they know it. Now, if we go back into Outlook and we do a send receive, you'll notice now me, the customer, has received an email from our server telling me we received your order by email. It's been assigned order number 5264, and Penny, our sales administrator, will be calling the customer to review the details. Thank you. All of that again is part of the workflow. Again, this is just scratching the tip of the iceberg of some of the kinds of things that could be done. Let's take a look at another component of the architecture, and that's called Information Worker. We've already seen some portions of that, but we'll go into it in more detail now. Information Worker is a component of Epicor that integrates with Microsoft Office, such as Microsoft Outlook, Word, Excel. Probably the most important functional integrations are in Outlook, however. If you look in Outlook on the left, there's a folder here called Epicor, and in here we have various folders such as customers. If we click on those folders, you'll see lists of data, and in that data is customer information specifically coming from Epicor and it can be synchronized, which means that when you're out in the field and you have access to Outlook, no matter what device you're on, you'll have access to this data even if you're not connected to the internet at the moment. There's other grids here. We have sales order information. Again, you can click it, see the information regarding the sales order. You can see the line information and what have you. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our contacts. So if we go to our contacts, the system is also integrating our contact information into Outlook contacts. If I double click it, you see all the information in the perspective that you would expect, but this information is synced. So for example, let's say Andrew Adderson moved to a new office location and his extension changed. Right now his phone extension is 321. Let's go ahead and put him on extension 123. And we'll save our changes. Now this syncing can be set up to work on a synchronized or automatic basis, but we'll go ahead and manually kick it off now for demonstration purposes. And it's now going out and synchronizing company information, contact information, calendar information, calls, call logs, etc. So if we go back over to Epicor, now I could go back to Epicor and I could look up this company or contact, in this case Lonnie, or because we're in Information Worker within Outlook, I can say here, launch contact tracker. And since we're highlighted on Lonnie Smith, the system is smart enough to know that it should open up Epicor and bring up the contact information for Lonnie. So we're going to go ahead and look at one of our contacts here, Lonnie Smith, and we see Lonnie Smith as an extension 510. Let's double click and change his extension because say he moved to extension 623. We'll go ahead and hit save and close. And now normally this will happen automatically on a time basis, but I'm going to manually synchronize, and Outlook is now synchronizing with Epicor. And once we do that, another function we have here within Information Worker is to be able to launch a context-sensitive screen. So in this case, if I go to our contact tracker for Lonnie Smith, because that's who's highlighted, the system will go out and open up the contact tracker screen already loaded with Lonnie Smith. And you'll see it opens and the extension has changed to what we changed in Outlook. Now this synchronization is bidirectional. Now in this case we can't actually change this data because it is considered a tracker, and trackers don't have editable data. So we'll go over and open up the related customer entry screen here, and then we'll go to the contact information. And we'll choose Lonnie, and then in Lonnie we'll say, you know what, maybe he got moved to a different office, and we'll put him at extension 100. So we'll go ahead and save this, and we'll go back to Outlook, force a synchronization, and notice the 623 here has now changed to 100 automatically. So it's bidirectional synchronization with Outlook wherever it's appropriate in that regard. So let's take a look at another capability of Information Worker. Say Andrew Addison sent us an order as basically text information inside of an email. I'm just going to go ahead and highlight the items and the quantities that he wanted to purchase from us and copy it to the clipboard. I'll now go over to our sales order entry screen, and we'll just create a new order for Addison. And we'll look at our summary here where we can put in our lines, and here we can go ahead and right click and do something called paste insert. And what this allows us to do is literally copy and paste data from the clipboard into any lines anywhere in Epicor, whether it's a journal entry, a sales order lines, mass updating of pricing, or creating of items, or entering item counts from a spreadsheet. Literally just copy and paste. The system matches up the items and quantities and automatically populates the data as if it was keyed in, still going through the same rules that would happen if it was keyed in. So that concludes our general overview of the Epicor 9 system, and in the following sessions we'll go into some more functional areas in more detail. I appreciate your time for watching. Thank you very much.